Breaking right now. Sirens are echoing across central Israel. It is 2:18 a.m. local time. The sky over Tel Aviv lights up in flashes of orange and white. Interceptors streak upward. And then, impact. Not one, not two, multiple. You can hear it before you see it. A deep, rolling boom that shakes windows and car alarms across entire neighborhoods. People are running into shelters. Phones are buzzing with emergency alerts. And somewhere in that chaos, a question starts forming. How did this happen again? At this scale. Just hours ago, Iran launched one of its largest direct attacks on Israel in this conflict so far, not through proxies, not through militias, direct fire from Iranian territory. And this is where things immediately feel different. Because for years, Iran operated in the shadows, through Hezbollah in Lebanon, through groups in Syria and Iraq, through the Houthis in Yemen. It was indirect, controlled, deniable. But now, it's direct, and that changes everything. What we are seeing is not just another strike. It's a shift in the rules of the game, a visible escalation that both sides were trying to avoid. Until now. So what exactly happened? According to early reports, Iran launched a coordinated barrage that included ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and what analysts believe may include at least one hypersonic weapon. That last part is critical, because hypersonic missiles don't behave like traditional ones. They travel at speeds above Mach 5, meaning over 6,000 kilometers per hour. But speed is only part of the problem. They can maneuver mid-flight. That makes them extremely difficult to track, even harder to intercept. And if what we are seeing is accurate, then Israel's defense systems were forced into a situation they were not fully prepared for. Now, if you look closely at how Israel defends itself, it relies on a layered system, Iron Dome for short-range threats, David's Sling for medium range, and Arrow systems for long-range ballistic missiles. Each one is designed for a specific type of threat, but when multiple types of missiles come in at once, from different directions, at different speeds, that system gets stressed, not broken, but stretched. And that's exactly what seems to have happened here. Interceptors were launched. Many targets were hit midair, but not all of them. Some got through. Now let's slow this down and walk through it step by step. First, the launch phase. Missiles fired from Iranian territory. That alone takes several minutes to even be detected and tracked depending on trajectory. Second, early warning systems activate across Israel. Civilians get alerts on their phones. Sirens go off. Third, interception begins. Israeli defense systems calculate trajectories and launch interceptors to meet incoming threats mid-air. Fourth, saturation. This is where things get interesting. If enough missiles are launched at once, even the most advanced defense system starts to face a math problem. Each interceptor costs money, each launch takes time, and no system has unlimited capacity. So if 50 missiles come in, and you only have time or positioning to intercept 40, the rest will land. And that appears to be what we saw. Multiple impact points reported near urban areas, fires breaking out, emergency services rushing in. But here's the part that most headlines are not focusing on. This attack didn't happen in isolation. This is part of a much bigger pattern that has been building for weeks. Just recently, Iran already demonstrated that it still has full missile capability. Despite claims that its systems were weakened, it has not only continued launching, it has escalated. There were reports of a hypersonic strike on a US-linked target in Jordan. 2 interception attempts reportedly failed. That alone sent a signal. Iran is not out of weapons, and more importantly, I am willing to use them directly. Now, if you zoom out, you start to see the bigger picture. This conflict is no longer controlled by a single timeline. It's not something that can be turned off with a speech or a statement. Because from Iran's perspective, this is existential. That's the real reason behind this. For the United States or Israel, this may be strategic. It may be political. It may be something that can be escalated or de-escalated. But for Iran, based on its own messaging, this is about survival, about deterrence, about proving that it cannot be pushed without responding. And once a conflict becomes existential for one side, it becomes much harder to stop. Now let's talk about something that directly affects you, even if you're thousands of miles away. Energy. Because right now, the Strait of Hormuz is under extreme pressure. This narrow passage carries around 20% of the world's oil supply. 20%, that's not a small number. And Iran has already taken steps to disrupt it. Even partial disruption causes shockwaves in global markets. Oil prices have already surged. Transportation costs rise. Goods become more expensive. So even if you're sitting in Europe and Asia and North America, you're feeling this every time you fill your tank. Every time prices go up at the store. This is not a distant war. It's connected. But here's where things get even more complicated. The narrative. Because if you listen to official statements, you might hear that things are under control, that defenses are holding, that damage is limited, and to some extent, that may be true. But there's also something else happening. Information is being managed. We are seeing footage of interceptions. We are seeing controlled visuals, but we are not seeing the full picture of impact zones, casualties, or infrastructure damage. And that raises a serious question. What are we not being shown? Because in any modern conflict, perception is part of the battlefield. If the public believes everything is under control, there is less pressure to change strategy. But if the reality is more severe, that changes everything. Now think about this. If Iran can continue launching these types of attacks, and if even a small percentage gets through, what happens over time? Not one night, not 2 nights, but weeks. That's where long-term pressure builds. Civilian stress increases, economic strain increases, military resources get stretched, and eventually, decisions have to be made. Now, if you look closely at recent movements, there are reports that the United States is repositioning heavy assets in the region, including long-range bombers. That suggests preparation, not necessarily for immediate escalation, but for the possibility. Because once direct strikes between major actors become normalized, the threshold for a larger conflict gets lower. And that's the real concern here. We are watching a line being crossed, slowly, step by step. First indirect attacks, then direct strikes. Now large-scale coordinated barrages. So the question becomes, what comes next? Does Israel respond with a larger counterstrike? Does the United States get directly involved at a higher level? Or does this settle into a prolonged cycle of attack in response? Right now, nobody has a clear answer. And that uncertainty is what makes this moment so dangerous. Because history shows that conflicts don't always escalate in a straight line. Sometimes, one event changes everything. One strike, one miscalculation, one decision made under pressure, and suddenly, the situation shifts. That's why what happened tonight matters. Not just because of the damage, not just because of the missiles, but because of what it represents. A new phase, a phase where direct confrontation is no longer avoided, but accepted. And once that door is open, it's very hard to close. So as you watch this situation unfold, keep one thing in mind. This is not just about one attack. This is about momentum, the direction things are moving, and whether anyone still has the ability or the willingness to stop it. Because if that answer is no, then what we saw tonight may only be the beginning.